الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. The surah after Surah Al-Ankabut, the surah of the spider, and Ar-Rum, with regards to how the land of the Romans, or the empire of the Roman, were crushed by the Persian Empire, but how they rose up so quickly. From the two surahs, the lesson that was taken is that no matter how strong the web of the spider might seem, and how much of trust the spider places in its web, Ar-Rum comes to show that many empires in the past which were weak became strong, and the one that was strong became weak. Similar to the body of man, where the child became a strong person, the strong man became a child. This world is like a bucket, forever changing. Man should understand that everything got to do with the decision, command of Almighty Allah. No one has real power. No one is someone to be held in awe. No one is someone to be looked at with azmat. Greatness is only for the Zat of Almighty Allah. It is between the hands of Almighty Allah, between the fingers of Rahman, that the decisions of the entire world move. Allah raises who He wants, Allah crushes who He wants. Allah gives each group a chance. It's a test and exam. He raises some, He brings down some. Poverty itself is not a punishment, and wealth itself is not a gift. Both is an exam. There will be days where the examination will be taken in health. There are days when it's taken in poverty, in difficulty, in sickness. There are days when it will be taken in wealth. There are days when it's taken in poverty. This world goes through many conditions, many turns. This world was never meant as a paradise, as a garden. This was always going to be an imtihan. And how the paper, the question paper, can never have one type of questions. But it goes through different types. There's the easy section, there's the difficult section. It's to see whether man can pass on every section. Almighty Allah takes the exam from the people of Iman. We at the moment are really going through a very great imtihan, which is called, where the web of the spider has become very large, and we are finding by the day people falling into that web. The next surah, Ar-Rum, however, was to give himmat and courage, that do not be so scared of that web, or do not think that this web will last forever. As many empires of the past came down, this web will also come down. Until that time, however, it is a wise bird that looks at that web of the spider. It sees it between the two trees. Although it's made of such a clear fiber, material, substance, that had it not been for the reflection of the sun, none would have picked it up. The reflection of that sun for me and you is the nur that has entered into our hearts and our eye through the Qur'an, through the Sunnah, through the Sharia. It is that nur of Iman that has shown us that reflection. It has shown us that line, that this is a web. We are the only people in the world today you will find who we speak of the devil. We are the only people you will find when we enter the house, when we are leaving the house, we are reading a dua, Bismillah, Tawakkaltu ala Allah. O Allah, I place my trust in you. We are reading the dua, O Allah, I seek your protection. The amount of times we seek protection from the devil, every time when our salah starts, every time when we recite Qur'an, when we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, I enter into the protection of Allah from the accursed shaitan. We go into the toilet, we seeking protection from the evil, minal khubuthi wal khabaith, from the evil devils. A child is going to sleep at night, the mother says to him, read your surahs, blow on yourself and ask for protection from what? From the evil shayateen. The nur of Iman gave us this, that to a great extent we know, we are aware that there is a trap. Yes, then there are those who are able to pick up where the traps are. With the nur of Iman, it is called a basirat, a foresight Almighty Allah gives selected servants. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam warned. He said, beware of the nazar, of the look of a man who Allah Tabarak Ta'ala has selected. فَإِنَّهُ يَنْظُرُ بِنُورِ اللَّهِ. Because when he looks, his look is different from the look of a normal person. He looks for the light that Allah has placed in his eye. How that bird, very wise bird, sees that light and he understands that is a web. Thereafter, what will the bird do? The bird itself is not going to fly into that web, that's obvious. Surah Luqman was now going to speak about that. That as long as that web is there, and it is very strong, it is very big, but it's not going to be there forever. Its time of collapsing is very soon. May Allah bring it even sooner. But as long as it's there, every day there's a chance of another bird getting caught in that web. And there's a chance of the child, the baby, the chick of the bird itself, that if that bird cannot make its chick aware that what I am seeing, I need you to also see it. How I am aware of that web and I will never fly in that direction, I need you to also become aware. It was always shown that the fitan of the shayateen, especially the fitan of Dajjal, it will always concentrate first. The first target which Surah Al-Kahf was going to indicate towards was going to be the younger generation, where the father himself will now understand when you reach an old age, when you pass the age of 50, 55, 60, you yourself regret and you say, I had made so many steps that had it not been for Allah's kindness, I would not be standing where I am standing today. Then that father really wants to explain to his son, oh my son, don't make the mistake that I have made. In Surah Luqman, Almighty Allah will take us through the manner of how a father, this is that bird who picked up the web, of the spider, but now it has to warn its chick. It is not just warning, like how a father normally will speak to his son, and he will tell his son, can't you see the truth? That son will say to the father, Daddy, when you were young, you also couldn't see anything. There is a way of explaining to the children, to the youth of the time. For that every father needs. There is something called wisdom. But before that, on the first page of the surah, Almighty Allah makes an indication to what will be the biggest fitna, the biggest trap, the biggest pull attraction for the people who are regarded as the prey, in our understanding for the youth of the time. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. From amongst the people there are those who purchase. This بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ means unknowingly, innocently. There are many people who are the devil's slaves, agents of the devil directly. They create this. They create the systems of entertainment, avenues of enjoyment. They opened up the clubs, they opened up the raves, they brought it all into the phone, they brought it all into the computer. Every day a new game comes in the market. And then there are those who are innocent. Some are believers, some are disbelievers. Every disbeliever is not evil in nature. Many of them are innocent, totally misguided. There are those who are the devil in the form of man. They understand what wrong that's happening. They want it to happen. Then there are those simple Christians in the world, simple Hindus in the world, simple Muslims in the world, that they have become so naive. They are just thinking that everything that's happening around is just by coincidence. It just happened that America was blessed with certain geniuses which the rest of the world could not get. They were able to make certain things which nobody else ever dreamt about. They were able to create a Hollywood and to move forward in the sphere. Why? They would say it was their brains that they worked hard in that effort. Allah opened the door for them. It was nothing like that. There were those amongst them who became the direct agents of the devil. And through inspiration from the devil of different types, direct and indirect inspiration, an entire world of fitan was created. The center of this world was entertainment. Then there would be that level of innocent people who would go into the world every day. Amongst them would be the mothers and fathers of the time. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَشْتَرِي. They would go to the market. They would be so happy of the birth of a child in a house, which for so many years they were waiting for a child. Now I will give this child what love, what affection, Whatever my child wants, I will never say to my child no. There was a time in life perhaps I did not have. Now I will never let my child also not have. When he will enter into school, whatever his father or mother as yet has not purchased for him, he will just come back and say, Mommy, but my friend has this. That one sentence has this will be enough. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ, from amongst the people there are those who will purchase لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ, things of entertainment. Lahwal hadith means items of entertainment. Items of entertainment are on different levels. There are those items which are completely haram. It has music in it. Sometimes a parent will think that my child is so small, how will that musical tone affect him? It is just to put him to sleep, not understanding that where a big person takes poison and it's harmful, the poison on the innocent mind of the child is even more harmful. Some of those instruments are so evil, but because it was meant for a child. On some instruments they will write, beware, that there are certain things in this, if swallowed, it will harm the health of the child. How the mother looks at it and will not purchase. If Allah had blessed that mother and father with the nur of Iman, they would see another sign on it showing, beware, there are certain ingredients in this which is detrimental to the heart, to the soul, to the Iman of your child. We are living in a time to purchase things for our children, it's not the easiest. A person, as he has to go out in the world looking for halal, tayyib food, and he has to pay a big amount for it. To look for something your child to do is not an easy thing. To purchase for him things to keep him amused, to keep him busy. Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about archery. He spoke about horse riding. He spoke about swimming. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said 3 things will not be regarded as a waste of time. He said one is horse riding. He said one is practicing archery, throwing a spear, shooting an arrow. Those are the 2 which not times the father and the mother in today's time, by the fadl of Allah, they say, I will take out that extra money and I will take my child for horse lessons, riding lessons. And then I will buy that bow and arrow, and alhamdulillah, to a great extent in South Africa we are finding it getting alive. In that narration 3 things were mentioned, however. One was ta'deebuhu li farasihi, learning how to ride that horse. By the fadl of Allah, the father has taken out that money and he said, my son, from a very early age I'm going to put you on the horse, keep you busy with something good. On the other side of the narration was the bow and arrow, the spear. He takes him for lessons. This boy now has joined the 2 together. He's sitting on the horse and he's shooting the target. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala reward those parents. Between those 2, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned the 3rd, وَمُلَاعَبَتُهُ أَهْلَهُ, he's playing with his family. The meaning of playing here means a husband playing with his wife, a wife playing with her husband. When that was put in between the horse riding, and it was put on the other side the bow and arrow, and how the father right at the beginning says, I will spend even if it's expensive to keep my child busy with something. By the fadl of Allah, we have come to that level that the father will take out extra money, that you will go for horse riding lessons even if it's expensive, and you will go for the bow and arrow lesson even if it's expensive. May Allah bring us to that level where the parents of today can start saying, oh my child, even if it will be a little tight on my budget, as soon as I find you of the age that you are ready to get married, not of the age which I got married. I, my father, we got married. The father will say, I got married at the age of 35. My son, I'm sure you can manage till 30. The zamana, the time has changed completely. We have gone through such a change in time. Ask that father, the first time that you were introduced to the cinema, to the television, did you see the pictures what your small child is seeing today? In your whole life you never saw one of those pictures. In his first year, after reaching the age of 6 or 7, he saw it all. You managed to reach the age of 35 curbing your desire, because around you was not the filth of the time. He is surrounded by the filth of the time. Such a child, once they say to their parent, I need to get married, it is not right for the parent to even say, wait 3 months. When the child is saying, I need, he means I need now. To be able to save your child from haram. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam made a promise. By the qasam of Allah, Allah has promised His help to that person who goes towards nikah solely for the protection of his chastity. In today's time, people are very worried of their business, of their money. More important that there is iman and modesty, chastity. A father should think that it is my job to keep my son busy with that which is halal, so that he does not fall into that which is haram. He will start him off with horse riding. He will take him on to shooting arrows. He can take him for gun lessons. He can take him for swimming. There are many things that he can put his child in to keep his mind busy. And as soon as he sees his child is now interested in marriage, then as he was ready to take out that extra amount, he must put that extra amount in this also. Even if the child is still studying, even if that girl is still studying, the boy is still studying, there is no need to wait for them to become of the age where the girl can immediately start living with the boy. Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam sunnah was unique. He married Aisha radiallahu anha at such a young age. For 3 years she was still going to stay by her father. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam will come to visit her. The rukhsati would take place 3 years later. The talks after marriage would take place for 3 years. He gave a message to the world that it is not necessary that the day you get married, the girl must be ready for it. That they say the girl is still too young for marriage. Too young is not for marriage. Too young is to come to live with the boy. When a boy comes with a proposal that answers she's still too young doesn't work. And for that father to say, we are happy with you, but just wait for her to finish her studies, that's even worse. That has already promised the boy you getting the girl. It has promised the girl you getting this boy. When that promise is made, do you think that girl will not reply to the message of that boy? She understands he's going to be my future husband. Do you think your daughter is a Rabia Basriya of the time, that she will write a letter to him and she will say to him, oh my brother in Islam, it is not permissible this letter of yours. So if you don't want to stay on halal, get lost. I will not do haram. She's not going to do that. She will understand if she doesn't reply to that letter, that message, she will hurt his heart. He is a future husband as though he's already a husband. When that sentence was said by that father, that we are happy with this proposal, but after 1 year, it was as though the father said, I am happy for 1 year. You'll remain talking in haram. After 1 year, when the studies are finished, we will make it halal. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala allow our eye to open. Save our children from haram, even if it means digging deeper into our pockets. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala says, innocently there are people who go out in the world and purchase lahwa al-hadith, the items of entertainment. لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. The Islam that comes can have two meanings. One is their intention is to turn people away from the path of Allah. Normally when a Muslim mother and father buys the things on the market, their intention is not that. The second meaning of the Islam is, the result of which is, it turns the child away from the path of Almighty Allah. بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. The person who bought it did not even know that I am buying the destruction of my child. وَيَتَّخِذَهَا هُزُوًا. There are those who will purchase it and their intention is to turn people away from the path of Almighty Allah. They are those evil shayateen. They are the agents of shayateen. They get these things into the market. They bring it into the market. They will misguide liyudilla. They will misguide parents. They will misguide the children, the youth from the path of Allah. Bighayri ilm will refer then to the father who's buying the item, to the child who's receiving the item, that they are taking it so happily. They have no idea. The market that produced it did not produce it because they liked you. The one who made that movie had no liking for the Muslim who will be watching it. The one who made that toy, the one who made that game on the internet, he was just drawing that child in, like how the spider was pulling in that insect. Bighayri ilm, the one who took it in his hand, he never understood what was the purpose of the one who brought it. وَيَتَّخِذَهَا هُزُوًا. And they make the deen of Almighty Allah a thing of mockery. In that game you will see something. In that magazine you will see something. In that movie you will see something where they will hit against, they will make a mockery. And then when the world realizes, then there's a big cry for a few days. Then when everything goes down again they will hit. Ulaika lahum adhabum muhin. For that group whose intention was to bring this, for them there will be a disgraceful punishment. But for that parent who mistakenly purchased it also, and for that child who took it also, and then because of that they made their deen a mockery, they lost the shock of their deen, their mind became grabbed with this, with the entertainment of the time, for them will also be a terrible punishment. That father, that mother who purchases, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us what a unique dua. When things of the time are purchased, any new thing is purchased, he would read this dua, "O Allah, I ask you for the good of this and the good for what it was created. And I seek your protection from the evil of this and from the evil for which it is created." Today, whenever you pick something up from that shelf for your young child, whether it's a cloth, a dress, a toy, a gadget, look at that gadget and understand, when we say made in China, when we say made in Japan, when we say made in England, made in America, then you must see another sentence behind it, and it is not made with any sincere intention. There's a purpose behind this entire thing, to pull that insect into the web of that spider. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala then brings us to Luqman radiyallahu an. Amongst the ulama there was always a difference. Was he a Nabi of the time? The better view was he was not a Nabi, but Almighty Allah blessed him with so much of wisdom, that when the names of the Anbiya alayhimus salam would be taken, then Luqman radiyallahu an, his name would also be taken, and it would be said Luqman alayhi salam. There was an indication in this, that there will be a time that the people, which Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a lot of indication to, that the people of this ummah, especially the scholars of this ummah, they have been given a rank like the Anbiya of the Bani Israel. Although you are not a Nabi, but Allah Tabarak Ta'ala inspires some people with such wisdom, he becomes like a Nabi for his era. Luqman radiyallahu an, Luqman alayhi salam, was blessed with the unique quality, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا لُقْمَانَ الْحِكْمَةَ أَنِشْكُرُ لِلَّهِ. We had blessed him with the quality of wisdom. This was the first message to every father, every mother. The desire will be that I have to save my child. I have spotted the web of the spider. I have seen so many birds falling into that web. I need to save my child from falling. But the first thing that I need before I can warn my child, before I can stop my child, is the gift of wisdom. If the father or mother does not have this quality of wisdom, their da'wah towards the child, their targheeb and tarheeb to the child, their encouragement and warning to the child will make the child what we will call, the child says, I became fed up with my parents, whole day harping of the same thing. When wisdom is used, then the thing that is mentioned becomes enjoyable. Another meaning of al-hikmah ulama have written is al-hilm, tolerance. Being a father and wanting to save your son from falling, your daughter from falling, needs a lot of tolerance. When you will find them not listening, you cannot become upset and angry. Every night you will have to make dua and think of a new method. That father bird looks again and again, somehow to ensure my child gets the message before he gets caught. His eye is always on him, that even if he falls, I must be there before the spider comes to pull him out. Looking at different methods, looking at different ways. One meaning of wisdom is to be wise in your da'wah. A second meaning of wisdom is to be tolerant in your da'wah. You are not going to see immediate results. To look at different tadbirs, to different tariqas, different methods. You don't put everyone right with the same stick. Everyone does not walk the same path. What worked on the big son might not work on the younger son. What worked on you might not work on your child. Your sheikh was so inspirational to you, but your wife or your child might find no inspiration from him. For everyone there's a different path. It is with wisdom that a father has to see what is the greatest way I can get my son to realize what is the path of the haqq and where is the path of the devil. With wisdom, Luqman alayhi salam, Luqman radiyallahu an, was going to give advice. وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ Remember when Luqman said to his son, وَهُوَ يَعِذُهُ, whilst giving him advice, he started with Ya Bunayya, O my beloved son. The principle number one, after being blessed with wisdom, so the father, the mother have to see, do they have wisdom? If anger is grabbing them, they are becoming angry with the child for not listening, then they must understand they haven't yet entered into the chapter of Luqman. First they'll have to bring that tolerance in. They'll have to think, they'll have to make dua, they'll have to look for wisdom. Wisdom is a gift. Allah Ta'ala blesses some with it, some have to work for it. If you have not been naturally blessed with wisdom, then go looking for wisdom. Read the books of people who made tarbiyat of their children. Look up waqiyat and incidents. Go and sit in the company of scholars and take their advice. Make muraqabah yourself, continuously talk with Almighty Allah. Allah Ta'ala will always inspire the one who looks for inspiration towards Almighty Allah. Once wisdom falls on an individual, now when you go towards your child, son or daughter, it has to be with the mark of love. While you are angry, do not ever think of giving advice. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, a man who is a judge, if he is angry, he must not make judgment also. If the child has done something wrong, that's the last time to give him advice. If the son has done something wrong, that's not the time for a bayan. That is the time to show the child that these things happen in life. You are burning with anger at the moment. Whatever you say, you will not say it right. Later on, you will also regret, I think I overdid it. In the manner I hit him, in the manner I rebuked him. Wisdom will come when it comes completely surrounded with love. So the person who is giving that wisdom, the father or mother, has to be relaxed. It must be a relaxed environment. One of the best environments is when everyone is sitting in a gathering of the house. We can call it a gathering of ta'aleem, or just a normal casual gathering, and someone brings up a topic. No one is made the target. No one has done any wrong. At a very young age, Luqman radiyallahu an, Luqman alayhi salam, would speak to his child. The first message he would put in the heart of the child, he would say, "O my beloved child, la tushrik billah, do not ever fall in shirk. Inna shirka la zulmun azim." Where normally we will say that shirk is a major sin, he said shirk is the greatest level of oppression. The word oppression everyone knows. The word sin man normally thinks about, I'll get punished later on in life. But oppression, no one likes to be oppressed. With shirk, man is not oppressing Almighty Allah, man is oppressing himself. He is bringing upon himself such problems, calamities, difficulties in life that he is not going to manage to come out. He has brought upon himself a zalim, an oppressor. He will find in no part of his life goodness. When someone hears you're going to spoil your life, think about this. Such a man who was the markaz of the people of the time, all coming to him for great advice. Such a man normally will think, where will my child ever fall in shirk? It was not like that. It was a message for every father who's an alim, who's a sheikh, who's regarded as a pious, for every mother who's regarded as alima, apa. That even if you got the attention of the world, and in your heart no evil thought ever passes, do not ever think that in your child's heart no evil thought will ever pass. The thought of shirk, if it could go through the heart of the son of Luqman, then the thought of dirt and evil can definitely go through the hearts of our children. He never thought it's far-fetched, rather he felt better from the beginning warned. He said, "Oh my son, la tushrik billah, do not ever fall in shirk." The second advice which the father needed to give the child, but was hard. It is hard for a father. Normally for this you're always going to look for somebody else. To give advice for the son, behave with your parents. Almighty Allah says, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ. The second advice to every child is, but Luqman radiallahu anh was not going to give this to his child. The child is supposed to understand himself. Almighty Allah says, we gave it. We gave the command to insan that remember your parents are very important. Biwalidayhi. Hamalathu ummuhu. Think about your mother when she carried you. During those days there was weakness, there was tiredness. She would get headaches, she would find pain. She could not do the work of the house. There was times that she could not move at all. But she never blamed you one day. Not once when you came out she said, what a musibat you were for me. What a calamity. For 6 or 7 months, how I vomited because of you. I could not eat, I could not move. She carried you upon difficulty, ala wahanin, upon difficulty. Then you were born, but it was not the end. Where she was in the most need of sleep now, wafisaluhu, now she needed to give you milk. Just when she was falling asleep, you were waking up. Not once she would come and give you a slap and say, for 7 months, 9 months, you spoilt my life. Now again, you're not letting me rest. Again, she would take the child. Sometimes she would fall asleep right there by the child. She would have a cot on the side, but then she would bring the child back into the bed. She would breastfeed the child, then she'll have to wake up and put the child back again. Again difficulty after difficulty. Then came the time to take the child to wean him off the milk. That itself was not going to be easy. The way the child cried as though he was shouting and blaming the mother. The mother would hear the child screaming. How she felt at that time. She couldn't even tell the child that for your own benefit I'm doing it. The way the child became angry, the way he shouted. Almighty Allah says, think about this. Anishkur li wa liwalidayk. And then make the shukr of Allah. And make the shukr of your parents. Ilayya al-masir. Because you are all coming back to Almighty Allah. The first principle for the child was to be taught the meaning of shirk. How terrible shirk is. And why it is such an oppression. Why it has opened up all the doors of calamities. Because one is, think of your parents, what they have done for you. Then a tear will go down the eye of that boy. And he will say, it's not right for me to ever behave rude with my mother and my father. And then one higher than that. Now think of your Allah and what He has done and will always do for you. Is it correct for you now to attribute greatness to anyone else but Allah? Again another chair must go down. It must be called a chair in the shukr of Almighty Allah. That, oh Allah, you have given me so much. You have given my parents so much. You continue giving me despite my evil and my wrong. How can I ever not see you? When the meaning of Tawheed is taught, the qabahat, evil of shirk is taught to a child from a very young age. We are living in a time today where the child does not recognize the parent, and definitely then he is not going to recognize a creator. They go hand in hand, the two. Recognize the one that has fed you and show your shukr towards him. Do not show an oppressive nature towards that person. Nabi Luqman radiallahu an, the wise, was going to continue. He said, Ya bunayya, O my beloved son, innaha in taku mithqala habba. He was going to give the message not only that Tawheed is important, but the muraqabah, the understanding that in every action of yours, Almighty Allah is always looking. From a very young age, if you tell this to your child, Luqman the wise was going to ingrain it in his child. This is ingrained with waqiyat, with stories. You don't just give a bayan daily telling the child, remember Allah, or especially when the child is being naughty, then you say, Allah will punish you. It is nothing like that. With waqiyat, with stories, before the child is going to bed, he wants to hear one story. Every story's crux must be that wherever you are in the world, innaha in taku mithqala habba, even if something is as small as a grain, fatakun fi sakhratin, and it has been hidden in a rock, or it is somewhere in the skies, or it is somewhere deep in the earth, ya'ti bihallah, Allah will bring that forth. Inna Allah latifun khabir. Nothing can be hidden from Almighty Allah. The thought that Almighty Allah is always aware, when you put that thought in the child's mind when he's young, it becomes ingrained, it remains fresh. Thereafter it is called Islahe Amal, to perfect your actions. Ya bunayya aqimis salata. At a young age he would say to his child, don't just perform the salah, but perfect the salah. The child is told from the age of 7, go masjid now. The mother will say to the child, read a namaz, but that was not sufficient. At that child's at a young age, obviously when he's going to read the namaz, he will read it haphazardly. He will not worry what he's wearing when he's reading, because he's only a child. He can be wearing his teddy bear clothing. He can be wearing his hat with his floppy ears. He can be going up and down so fast, namaz is over. Not like that. The father will come, the mother will come, and they would say, oh my child, for the next 5 minutes perform a good salah. Don't go too fast through your arkan, through your postures. Do it nicely. It is a salah for Allah. Give something good to Almighty Allah. The mind of a child starts becoming mature at the age of 7. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that's the time to put the child onto salah, so that his mind grows up in the obedience of Almighty Allah. He said, "Oh my beloved son, it was not just perform salah." He said, "Perfect the salah." وَأَمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَانْهَى عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. This you normally don't tell a small child. That if you see something that is right, then invite and encourage, command towards the good, prohibit from the evil. Normally a young child will be told, mind your own business, just keep quiet, shut your mouth. But he would say to the child that it is your responsibility in life, that you have to see to your own amal, and you have to invite the people around you also towards good. وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ. From a young age he would teach the child, this world has not come to give you paradise. There will be many difficulties in this life. You will have to make sabr on the difficulties of the time. إِنَّ ذَلِكَ لَمِنْ عَزْمِ الْأُمُورِ. Indeed, sabr is not an easy thing. It's a very hard thing, but it's part of life. وَلَا تُصَعِّرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ. O my beloved son, in front of people, don't turn your cheek to them. Meaning, don't act with pride. Don't have a haughty attitude. وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. O my beloved child, come, I will teach you how to walk on the lands. We will walk in a humble manner. There will be no bounce. There will be no greatness. There will be no, I am the son of so and so person. Do you know me? Inna Allah la yuhibbu. Because indeed Allah does not like the one who is filled with pride. وَقْصِدْ فِي مَشْيِكَ. Watch your walk. Meaning, don't walk too fast and do not walk too slowly. وَخْدُدْ مِنْ صَوْتِكَ. And watch your voice. Do not speak in a very soft voice that no one can hear. But do not scream. Do not be vulgar. Do not be loud. Inna ankara al-aswati. Indeed, the worst of voices, lasawtul hamir, is the voice of a donkey. Meaning that scream that you are doing, that bray, O my beloved child, who is going to listen? Almighty Allah does not like this. In this manner, Luqman, the wise, so great was his wisdom that the ikhtilaf would always remain. Is he a Nabi of Almighty Allah or not? The preferred view was no, not a Nabi. But in his wisdom, Almighty Allah raised him that the ikhtilaf would remain of his being a Nabi or not. In that there was an indication that there will be people who will always come in every era. They will be blessed with such wisdom that the thought of, did they get this through wahi? It will be said no. But they got such a revelation which is not far from wahi. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam called it hadas. He said, if in my ummah there are people who get hadas, he says in the previous times there definitely was. If in my ummah they are, he said, example of one is Umar radiallahu anh. There will be many others. Allah will inspire people. Different levels of hadas. Inspiration comes for the one looking for inspiration. It was with wisdom, with tolerance, that Luqman the wise was going to go towards his child. And he was going to try to carve the mind, to turn the mind, to create the mind of the child into a muwahid, to one who will remain obedient to Almighty Allah to the ending, to perfect his amal, to perfect his akhlaq, to perfect his tawheed, to put him straight from the beginning. What unique advices were given? This is the advice. We all have seen the web of the spider. We all have been told very soon that web is going to fall. But we all have a fear that as long as it's still there, my child must not be the next prey for that spider. Everyone should ask Almighty Allah to make him a Luqman of the time, that Allah blesses him, blesses her with that wisdom, with that love, with that tolerance, with that wisdom, and that they can go to their child, boy and girl, and as Luqman affected the heart of his child, Allah allow us to all to affect the heart of our children, that they also open their ears, the ears of their head, the ears of their heart, and they take the lesson which their parent is giving. They also, through the advice of their parent, are able then to see the web of the spider and to steer clear from it. It is the dua of every parent that, O Allah, as you have blessed me with Iman, then take me with Iman. And O Allah, as you allowed Iman to enter into our silsila, into our nasab, into our lineage, without us even asking, O Allah, in your kindness, let it not happen that this Iman now comes out of our nasab, out of our lineage. Rather, let it continue throughout our progeny. O Allah, let our child not become the prey of the devil. Let him become a great man. From a young age, if the child starts perfecting his salah, he will stand firm on the sirat. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala bless us all to become the Luqmans of the time for our parents, and for our children to become the sons of Luqman, to take the message of their parents, to take the message of the father and the mother, to take it to heart, and from a young age to become firm on the spot, sirat mustaqim. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.